Hello from Montreal. Hopefully there's not a delay when we're starting this stream. And hopefully the camera is almost immediately recording and there's not a delay. Anyway, welcome. Hopefully there's a decent amount of you. I mean, there's 60 so far, so we're going to see some more join soon. But yeah, no, I'm here in Montreal. Was able to kind of explore the city this weekend for the last 3 or 4 days, I guess now. And we also hosted an event with our friend Paige Saunders called Canadian Civil. And Canadian Civil is a sort of live event that has a bunch of, I guess, quiz questions, also just hang out, and of course there's drinks, which is fun. But let's see, is chat catching up? Let me just make sure that this is working correctly. Is it? Okay, there it goes. Now the stream is live. Okay.
Oh, we weren't live before?
No, it was live before. It was just, I think chat's catching up now.
Okay.
But
just getting awake.
yes, but if chat is just catching up now, let's see. Fill it in. Yeah, we'll talk about everything. So yeah, welcome. Like I said, I'm in Montreal, and I've been here for 3-4 days now. And I was mainly here for the event called Canadian Civil, which is hosted by Paige Saunders. If you recognize this background, you might know whose place this is. Otherwise, yeah, we will be introducing a few people here. The chat is a little behind on my phone, so if we are slow to get your questions, don't worry, we will get there. Otherwise, I guess who do I want to be joined with first? Oh, okay. I guess we'll get Uytae over here, who's...
Is that my cue?
So here, just hold it like down.
Hello.
There you go. So you can see the levels
Hi.
on the...
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah,
so this is... That was too much. Oh, that was too much.
Yeah.
Okay, there we go.
No, you don't have to hold it super...
Put that down.
You can just hold it. It's fine.
All right.
Let's see. Chat, it has to catch up. My phone is definitely not the...
Come on,
all
chat.
messages. Okay.
Catch up here.
There we go. Oh, so someone's already saying your name. There you go.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, you might know Uytae from his channel called About Here, where he mainly does stuff in Vancouver, but it's all kind of about Canadian stuff in general.
Yeah. We're just here to confuse all of you right now.
Yes.
What is Uytae doing?
I don't know. Yeah.
Speaking,
you're here for the Canadian civil stuff, and now you're here for this.
Yeah. Well, it's a real honor to be here. Nice to meet you, people. The foamers, as I've been told. That's the. No. Okay.
Well, yeah, we've recently taught Uytae what foamer meant.
Yeah.
So he's getting used to using that in
just trying
lexicon.
out some language. Yeah.
Great video today, someone says.
Oh, shucks.
You can maybe talk a little bit about that.
Oh, yeah. You know, I made a video to really piss off the NIMBYs today. It was a video on just like the concept of luxury housing and how it really has lost any kind of meaning. Oh, shucks. Oh, the greater discussions. Hi, good to see you. Oh, you got to check out the greater discussions as well on YouTube. Yeah, he's doing some good work.
Looking forward to seeing the comment section develop on your video.
Oh, I'm a bit nervous about that one. I haven't checked it really. But yeah. Anyways.
Well, there you go. Someone said literally just finished watching your video.
Whoa,
that
right
was a
on.
super chat.
Thank you so much, Isaac. Yeah.
And I'm all for it.
Oh, $2 too.
What?
Do I get some of that, Alan?
I'll buy you some drinks.
We'll talk later.
So all the channels that are going to be, or all the people that we're talking today, I have their channels linked down below in the description, so you better check them out at some point. Maybe not immediately, but check them out, or in the NERP tab or screen or something.
There's better to come, by the way. It gets better from here.
Someone's talking about you baited people. I didn't watch it yet.
Did I bait?
So.
Yeah, I did make it a pretty baity kind of title. It was. I labeled it I'm sorry. Now I'm just coming on to just completely promote myself.
No.
Here.
I mean that's why we're here. Is I'm
shucks.
fine with like. I don't make enough videos, nor do you, but we don't.
Fair
we have to promote each other so that people
I'll quickly get through it so we can bring on our other guests. But yes, I made a video. It's called The Problem with Luxury Housing.
They can exist with us at the same time here.
How about we just stall for like an hour and then, just bring him in for the credits?
Okay. Well, like the Royal Rumble, every 5 minutes we have to introduce a new person. So how about we introduce the other American here, Miles in Transit, who many of you have known from this stream before.
bringing with him his dessert.
Yeah, my tomatoes.
Oh, yeah. Truly, tomatoes are a fruit.
Our fourth guest already stole a couple, but that's okay.
He's like that sometimes.
Check out this mutant one. You see that?
Ooh. Yeah, now
It's
that
probably extremely out of focus.
Oh, wow.
reminds me of that snowman from Let It Go. What's that one?
Olaf.
Frozen.
Or Frozen.
Olaf, yeah. Just stick a little carrot in it.
Yeah.
This is
let's
already
see.
getting weird. Sorry, guys.
Can you check if that's still in focus just on the screen? But yeah, Miles, you should tell.
You can do a.
Oh well, I don't know.
Follow the hand.
It
Follow
should
the hand, follow the
have.
hand.
It should have autofocus on, but it might be defaulting to just whatever it was set at.
It's great.
So, all right.
I want people to see.
Well, you can read them. Reread the comments.
I know Miles doesn't like sweet things, but tomatoes for dessert is a new one. People know about my.
Oh, they
That's
are
been a
aware
topic
of your.
conversation tonight. Is like my food.
Oh my gosh, I feel bad, but
bizarreness.
yeah, no, we ripped Miles a lot about his eating habits.
Yeah, what were the comments? I need to catch up on these. If tomatoes are a fruit, is ketchup a jelly?
Where the Snyders at? We're in Canada. They don't have Snyders here.
Oh,
I
yeah,
don't think
true.
they do. I did
What's
get from
Snyder's?
It's a pretzel made in Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Or snacks.
Oh no, they have them here. Yeah, we
Yeah.
got the honey Dijon one, my favorite.
Okay.
Okay.
Winter. Snyder's. Oh, what? That's a crime. Via mentioned.
Okay.
Well, so
I guess
okay.
Snyders is available. Oh well.
Apparently, we have some contacts at Via, so I guess Via videos will be happening in the future at some point. So that can maybe be teased. I mean, Miles was joking that he should do a really goofy trip at some point, and get them to help you with it.
Oh yeah. I just finished the tomatoes, by the
Yeah,
way.
you got through those so quickly. You were not kidding, man. That lasted 2 minutes.
See, if we could turn the camera around right now, you could see that Paige is actually in the background recording with his I cannot tell
Paige,
what
come
camera.
out here with
Crazy
your
camera.
freaking.
Oh, you should come
setup,
over here
man.
with the camera.
He's just flexing on all of us right
Yeah.
now. Some of us film on iPhones, you know.
What is that? Is that
Look
a?
at this
that a-
thing. Look at this behemoth.
Show us the camera.
Oh, what is that, Ray? Is that a black magic? What is that?
Let's do a 360 here. What do we got going on over here?
Black Magic Pocket 4K.
Ooh.
Some
Wow.
other, yeah. It's actually not a very fancy camera, but it looks fancy.
You
No,
make it
I mean,
look
the
fancy.
setup is nice. That's what counts.
It's been many years of using it that kind of
Yeah.
hone it, you know?
Yeah.
Also, Paige Saunders, everybody.
Yeah, Paige is kind of what put all the Canadian civil stuff
Yeah.
together and got us all here in the same spot. So,
Yeah, he's responsible for all
yeah,
this.
what is chat saying? Let's see. Yeah, someone says Paige exclamation point.
Yeah. He
so
is a
you
man.
can take the Churchill train. That's what.
That would be fun.
Oh, okay. Is that what this is called?
Well, that's
No,
just
that's-
this is some old Lionel.
It's a Via train that goes to Churchill, Ontario.
Manitoba.
Manitoba, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
crazy.
And you can't get there by car. You can only get there by train. Can we check the book to see what?
Oh,
the
yeah,
subsidy
yeah.
on it
Already.
Okay, go for it.
If you wanna-
I shall manage the
there you
chat
go.
here.
Do you know which section it is?
It'll
Great
be under
British
my
Financial
account. If
Service.
yeah.
Quarterlies.
What?
I don't know if it's in the quarterlies.
Let's see, the,
What do
Uh,
you say?
So it's on tape.
Where are you live at?
Operating expenses.
Who's
Yeah.
asking?
Breakdown.
Who's that asking to?
Who are you asking? Adam.
Yeah. How did Amtrak end up having Beech Grove in Indianapolis, Indiana? That's a leftover from the New York Central. Let's see.
Where's my book?
Okay. Oh, you guys have the Via
Not yet.
book open?
Miles, do
Oh,
you
yeah.
want to?
What am I doing? What?
I don't know if there's a specific question about it.
I
Oh.
was just gonna say.
I think this is yeah.
Well, I was gonna say if you wanted to, I don't know, not spoil, but maybe tease one of the trips you might be doing.
This is the Via one?
Maybe. I don't know.
I mean, I have my. Oh, it's not in there.
Not in this one.
Okay. I mean, I have my idea of a funny Via trip, which would be
Fun.
doing the Canadian but in coach. I
Oh,
think that would be really funny. Well, you're thinking of
I was thinking of one you have planned. You could tease.
like
Yeah.
coming later this week.
Yeah,
Oh, duh.
but
Yeah,
just
that
tease
makes a
it
lot of
maybe,
sense.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's
Spoiler alert.
it's a okay. I'll tease it. It's a Via train that uses interesting equipment.
Oh, well, that's
I
like
guess it's
every
Via
Via train.
But it uses uniquely intriguing equipment,
It's a special snowflake.
and we'll see what people get from that.
Yes. Oh, I saw the message about the MBTA footage. That is a good idea to put the map together. So thank you if you end up doing that. Otherwise, let's see. What did you? Let's see. White River mentioned. I don't know.
Interesting.
I mean, that's like every via rail something is like a unique route with unique rolling stock. So
Yeah.
there's, I mean, the ocean for a while. Does the ocean still have the?
The rent cars. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
You can watch my video about it if you want.
Is that the car that has a toilet in the middle of the room?
Yeah.
Well,
Some of them have showers and some of them don't.
Well, that's
Okay.
the British rolling stock, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I thought that was kind of interesting. When I moved, like I had to film something in one of them, and during the night I had to like get camera gear out, but you had to move it around the toilet. So I'd have to like pull the bed, put it away, get the gear out, and then put the bed back, and then put all the gear on top. And I was just like, this fucking toilet. I wish it didn't exist. It's so
Oh
annoying.
no, you were in one of the Bud cars, I think.
Yeah, that's
Because
probably.
the rent cars have a separate bathroom that's like in the room. It's like an ensuite.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Well, that would have worked
Okay.
much
All right.
better.
So real
I love the
question.
Bud cars though. It's like being in a museum.
Real question.
Utah, thank you for handling the mic.
Yeah.
I'm just on tech duty today. You guys are the stars.
So someone says, what can Philly learn from Montreal on bike infrastructure and transit? Montreal has higher ridership per capita than all U.S. cities except NYC, and the mayor of Philly is also not Parker. Yeah, or is that Montreal is the mayor is not Parker? That's so. I mean, like, the bike lanes here are for the most part fantastic. The main thing is that there's actually protected bike lanes, but what I was being told by Patrick from the Urbanity is that these things have existed for a long time, some of them. Some of the bike lanes actually date back to like the 1980s, which is like super surprising.
Right.
And there's like a reason why a lot of the Montreal stuff is ahead of most places is because for the most part it is. It's been ahead of everywhere because it's done it for the longest time.
It's not like a 5-year project. It's
no.
a 30.
Granted,
40,
I mean,
50
if
year
I was mayor, I'd have the 5-year plan. No.
Hey,
And-
Alan Fisher, Alan Fisher.
But the main thing is that like this stuff takes a while, unfortunately, especially if you're a city like Philly that doesn't have the most amount of money in the world, and definitely like PennDOT or Pennsylvania's transit department isn't the best with working with this stuff yet. So Montreal is cool in the fact that like they have roughly the same size bike share system as Philly, but it's like the ability to use it like I guess in a way where it's more functional from taking the subway and then going to wherever you're going nearby and then dropping them off, and especially having the bike lanes that are protected. And there's two kinds. There's ones that are one ways on the side of streets on either side, or there's the older style, which is the two-way bike lanes on the same side of the street, which I don't have a preference over either. Apparently the one on either side is the better one, but I think they're both fine.
They're workable.
Yeah.
The problem in Montreal is that like the bus system is really terrible. So like they really need the bike infrastructure because it's just like once you get off the metro, it's like, oh cool, I have a bus route that's gonna come in 26 minutes. That's what it's scheduled to do. It'll probably be even later, and it'll be packed.
The metro is so good.
I know.
That should be said.
It's like it's like the metro is like world class, and then every other form of transit in Montreal is like terrible. Like it's really the EXO sucks.
So
the buses suck.
What do we have here? We've got a prop
here.
coming from the
REM.
Montreal.
Okay, REM.
Okay,
that's a
REM,
good
yeah.
one.
But okay, we have to compare Philly and Montreal. Which is better, the Philly buses or Montreal buses?
Oh, Philly.
Oh, really?
100%,
Okay.
Yeah, because like Philly has like a sizable frequent network. I mean, I'm pretty sure that like Philly's routes tend to be more frequent.
I
than
don't know what
Montreal's
buses in Montreal are like every like
I've like
15 or
looked
less.
around Montreal's system, and it's like they have like designated frequent routes that used to be every 10 minutes, and now they've like downgraded them to every like 20 or worse.
Oh.
Like I think that at noon on a weekday you can access more frequent routes in Philly than in Montreal.
Huh.
That's semi a hunch. So correct me if I'm wrong, but like, yeah, I would actually put SEPTA above STM in terms of in the bus department.
And what I didn't know until I was here is that the island of Montreal and Philadelphia roughly have the same population, which is an interesting, like, I guess, metric to compare against each other.
I feel like I want to give the Montrealer a chance to defend. their system.
I'm not really gonna be defending a system
STM.
place. I mean, I like to criticize.
Oh yeah.
What's the question? The bike.
Actually, maybe more of a more useful question might be that, like, I guess, what does Philadelphia have to learn from Montreal? I mean, as someone
I mean, you
who's-
lived in both.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you lived in Philly?
Lived in Philly.
Yeah, I lived in Philly.
Somehow I believe that more than you
Everyone
being a
cool has lived in
Montrealer.
Philly. Oh, sorry, Uytae.
No, it's okay. I know how cool I am, as in I'm not. But yeah, I mean, what would you say is like kind of this? I don't know, like as a Montrealer, what pushes the bike agenda continuously every year?
I like that you've just taken over hosting. You're like immediately Uytae this. You're like, I'm Uytae. I'm very professional. Good at this. Yeah, I mean, I actually Philly's probably where I started biking as an adult, so it can't have been too bad. They had the bike share system there, which worked pretty well. So I used to take it to work each day, and yeah, like it's decent. I think Montreal just has a very large number of people bike. Like half the people if you live in the plateau.
So
and these
it's just like
neighborhoods.
reached a voting block of sorts.
Yeah, it's
Oh.
saturated.
So-
So that was different. But I think also it's been 6 years since I've lived in Philly. So I imagine that they've made a lot of progress too. I just haven't been back there. So
A little bit.
being optimistic. One thing I think to
Being
note,
polite. Yeah.
my friend and I, we were only there for like 6 months, but she broke her wrist on a tram track there biking. So that's one difference, And I do
No
actually,
trams here. That's right.
I say that to people. I do say to people like trams and bikes, like you need to be they're a thing you need to be careful about,
Right,
Like it is a factor. You can't just be like, oh yeah, trams. It's a thing to weigh in. Like
Right.
with as many bikes as Montreal has, if we put in trams or trolleys, we would want to mitigate for that sort of a problem. Building smarter bike lanes around. I'm sure there's a way to deal with it, but yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
One person also mentioned the fact that the Montreal bike system has those keys, which are very useful. And I wish that
100%.
Indigo also had them.
It used to have a little droplet, and you would tap it. Yeah.
They might still have that, but they don't give them out anymore, I don't think.
Not as Bixby,
Exclusive
but if you contact them and pay $15, they'll send it. They used to just mail it out by default, so it might be the same.
Do they want you to use the app now? Is that the?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, they want to save the $10. Or
So
whatever.
what did someone say here? It was okay. So I'm not wearing a Munibus shirt. This is actually a St. Louis one. So that might be it's a little
I
confusing.
love the color scheme.
Yeah, no, they have a good color scheme for their transit system.
I'm glad that someone in the comments thought it was Muni because when I first saw it, I thought it was Muni.
Yeah.
And,
Let's see.
Commonly confused.
Someone was like, "Why is Via Rail so far behind Amtrak on certain things?" So, and there's also there's two questions about.
book.
There is
yeah.
there is
How long do you have?
there is two questions about the Amtrak Adirondack and the problems with the border in CN.
yeah.
I've got an
So-
anecdote on that that might be funny, given that this is an
Okay.
American audience, probably. A bunch of people, I saw a bunch of people when that happened complaining about the American, train and the rails on the American side of the border, and how CN did their bit, but the Americans aren't doing theirs. And I thought it was interesting because obviously it's a complete opposite.
And it's also the fact that I think Amtrak paid them $100 million or something like that to fix a lot of this stuff. So it's like we're subsidizing your system.
Yeah, no, and it's great. It's really cheap to get to New York on. I
Yeah.
think the distance you're on the train for like 10 hours and it costs like, I don't know, 100 Canadian or something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah,
Canadian dollars.
yeah,
Which is like $10 US.
yeah. Beautiful though, beautiful currency.
That's true. Yeah, it looks pretty.
Amtrak is ahead.
Looks like $1 million.
Oh, so no, I said this earlier this week, but yes, Amtrak is ahead. Well, you want a bad fact? Amtrak is the best intercity system in the Western Hemisphere. So let that set in.
Honestly, another one that I've heard that I think is pretty good too is that Amtrak is the second best intercity rail system in the Anglosphere,
Behind.
UK.
Oh.
Oh, yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, I mean the only one I can think of might be Ireland, but I don't think it's as good as
No,
Amtrak.
no.
Like
New Zealand's isn't insanely
No.
bad.
it's just tourist
Oh, yeah.
oriented.
One tourist, two tourist train.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh.
And
Same
then-
with Australia.
and then Australia's
Australia
is
has
so-
some intercity stuff.
It's so
but
disjointed though.
Yeah.
Because it's like you have some stuff, but then it's all not connected very well.
Right.
It's all broad gauge, narrow gauge, et cetera, et cetera.
And how does England compare to like non-English speaking countries?
Pretty good,
Oh
generally.
yeah, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
The
we got one.
It's an impressively dense network, even though
Yeah.
they did a lot of cuts in the 60s.
The UK actually has like per capita, I think, one of the highest riderships in the world.
Although now they've been having issues where like I don't quite, the UK people correct me, I'm sure, but like they used to be able to like get like advanced tickets that could be used on like any train or something like that, and they got rid of that, and now you have to like, it's like that's way more expensive to do. You have to buy for a specific train, and that's really expensive too. They just have like the tickets are really expensive now. I'm sure I explained that terribly. So
No. It's sort of like it's like a well-connected system, but it's pricey.
yeah, all of the people I follow on Twitter who are British complain about it all the time. So
Huh. Fascinating.
They didn't used to employ like a pricing strategy, right, for early booking as much as they do now. Like now it's very
Yeah.
market driven. So I think a lot of people are like, well, you could rock up to the train and it cost this predictable amount or something.
Yeah.
And then,
Okay.
yeah, the system currently is more like you expect with like an airline.
yeah, I think it would used to be cheaper to get like an anytime single. Like you could just like do that,
Yeah.
and it wouldn't be too bad.
Yeah.
Right.
But now it's right.
So
now
some
it's
people get stung, you know, because when you introduce those sorts of things
yeah.
to shape traffic, that can cause this kind of like revolt of people who just who liked that they didn't have to plan.
yeah.
You know,
Right.
But-
And their stories kind of come up to the surface first, or it's easy to just highlight. Oh yeah, this guy got dinged this much.
Yeah, I mean,
money.
in the end, I think it would be you know, in principle, you do want to use pricing to encourage ridership at off-peak hours and to push people into, you know. So I don't think it's inherently bad. But I do remember a lot of people complaining about that when I was doing research on one of the videos.
Someone did an actually Spain is in the Western Hemisphere.
Oh God. Well, they make you go through airport style security. And,
This is
and then
true.
you get on a really good train, so
Yeah.
maybe it's worth it.
Yeah. And they
Which-
serve tapas.
They're also one of the
I
only
don't know.
countries.
They have
in-
a buffet car where you can get.
Shit.
It's just a cafe car, but it's nice.
All right. Nice.
Okay, so here's a good question. Did Miles or Alan take a plane to cross the border? So you first.
Okay, yeah. So so when Paige invited me to this event, I was already booked to see a concert the night prior. Friday night. The event was on Saturday. For anyone who's curious, I saw Dengue Fever with Alina. If you know.
Oh,
They're-
really?
Yeah. Do you know them?
Yeah.
Yeah, they were
They're a
amazing.
fucking old band too.
They were so good. It was cool. 'cause
Miles
they
has an interesting music
Yeah,
taste.
he
Yeah.
He
They-
likes to split ends.
Yeah.
That blew my mind.
Yeah.
well, yeah, because you're from New Zealand. I was like, oh, you're you split ends
It's
fan.
like, really? You know the split ends? Like,
Yeah.
the split ends, for anyone watching, is like that band your dad was really into. That's like a local band. So it's just like, it's not expecting that.
Dengue Fever is on the side. They're like, it's basically like these. It's like these white dudes who loved this like Cambodian psych rock music, and so they hired like a Cambodian singer, and they all kind of write music together and like do Cambodian folk songs and stuff. And Lowell, Massachusetts has the highest percentage of Cambodians in any city in the country. So they held the
That's-
concert in Lowell, and it was really
Interesting.
really cool. It was a mix of like old and young people. Hugely Cambodian audience. It was amazing.
Right.
Really, Cambodians like dengue.
Yeah,
Fever,
which
band.
I was happy.
So
like,
interesting.
Alina was the one who was really into them, and
Oh, yeah.
I'm just going along for the ride. But they were so good.
Yeah.
But like
Alright.
she was like, oh, that makes me feel better for liking them.
Okay, well, let me answer my question before we move on to this one. But how'd you
I
get
still have to
across
tell my
yeah.
flight story. Yeah, so, all that to say, so I had to
Well,
leave
we'll do
Saturday
that
morning.
really quickly. I'll hold this here.
All right,
and
so I had to leave
yeah.
Saturday morning, and after the concert, actually, I checked my phone, and Porter's like, yeah, we canceled your morning flight. We pushed you to the afternoon one, which would get me there at 4:33, and the event started at 6. So I flew Porter to Billy Bishop in Toronto, had 35 minutes to change planes because the first flight was late.
Oh.
But it was my pilot trip for my Nexus card, so that was very helpful for
Okay.
getting through that.
Nice.
Got on that second plane, flew over. The line for the 747 bus in Montreal, which is hell on earth, was so long. Managed to get through it, got in the bus, and arrived at the event at like 5:55 or something.
And I
So-
gave him a big hug. I was like, oh, thank God, thank God.
We had like a little finish line, like ribbon, to cross.
He actually got to the event before me because I'm an idiot.
yeah, tell that story.
Well, I'll get there. So my flight was, I just took a direct flight from Philly to Montreal, which flying into Canada direct is very expensive. And so my round trip was like 400 something. not fun. But the flight was fine. It was on a CRJ. I barely fit in a CRJ. And I got the window seat, which meant I was against the side of the bulkhead, the window, and I didn't realize it kind of curves and it hits my shoulder. So if you're tall, don't sit on the side of a CRJ. But the flight was fine. It's pretty quick. Landing in Montreal is interesting because the direction of landing sometimes is like directly over the city. So you come in and kind of get a little tour of the city as you land. And then the airport is wild. It's interesting because everyone sort of gets funneled into one spot. It's like a bad ski area. So it's like, and then the customs, I didn't have a Nexus card because I'm not fancy. And so I did the normal customs stuff. And then I didn't have a bad bus experience because I pretty much walked up to it and got on immediately. And the funniest thing was when I was riding on the bus, here we got stuck in a little bit of traffic, but then like 2/3 of the way through the ride, someone recognized me on the bus. So I was like, that's probably the record for like showing up to a city and someone recognizing or saying hi to me. And that person ended up actually coming to the Canadian Civil event.
No way.
That was the REM jersey shirt.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, crazy.
Yeah. So if you're watching, hi. Thanks for coming.
That was a great jersey.
Yeah. But other than that, yeah, no, I had a good time. It was, and then what was it? Yeah, no, so to the event, before I answer this one question, on my way to the event, at the transfer station, what's the transfer station called?
Lionel Gru.
Okay.
Or Barry will come.
Barry.
Okay.
Yeah. At that transfer station, I got on the orange line in the wrong direction and went one stop because I'm an idiot and I was in a rush. And then I basically burned 10 minutes doing that and I ended up 10 minutes late. So, yay.
Two things before we leave this topic. Number one, they're raising the price of Nexus on September 30th. So if you find yourself going between Canada and the US a lot, it's $50 for 5 years. You get TSA pre-check. You get expedited security in both the US and Canada. You get global entry access in the US. It's got a lot of benefits. You just have to do a live interview. I did mine in Calais, Maine. That'll be a whole thing. It'll be a video. Number two, the way Alan's just flying back, I'm taking an overnight Greyhound tomorrow night.
Hell yeah.
It will absolutely be a video, so look out for that.
Stay tuned.
What was I going to say?
I really like that.
Miles, money saving tip. Miles, money
Yeah,
saving
yeah,
tip.
no, really.
He's got a way to save money. Good
So-
jingle.
Well, I was gonna say no. Miles is like I guess the number one spokesperson for this now. So like, yeah, sure. Well, let's see.
Get
We
him
got
sponsored.
two questions. I guess we got what projects could we get excited for in the Quebec, Ontario area? Would we see in high-speed rail between Toronto and Montreal? Also, would Mexico's rail count for NA? They're investing in a lot of air-sea trains. Well, unfortunately, Mexico is not the best at the moment, but maybe they'll get there someday. They're still probably significantly worse in ways than Amtrak.
I get the impression they're doing a lot of like touristy stuff right now versus
Yeah.
prioritizing like population centers.
But I guess there you go. We could. I guess some of you guys can answer a question about Quebec to Montreal area, and are you going to see high-speed rail?
Just actually a microphone getting shoved in my nose.
I got the power.
Come on, buddy.
Yeah, your turn to talk.
Eastern Canadian.
All right,
here.
all right. HFR high-speed rail. What's happening between Toronto and Montreal?
It's in a P3 process. How dry do you want this?
Let's start right.
No.
P3,
We don't want
controversial about
explanation. We want what are the vibes? What do you think of the vibes in this situation? What is happening?
Yeah. Well, one vibe is like cadence, and they're all like, we're French. And then another vibe is like, what are you talking about? I mean, okay, so
I think they're talking about the musical instrument vibes. And
assuming the audience is fairly into this, so there's a corridor, there's a densely
Yeah.
populated corridor in Canada, which would be the equivalent of the Northeast Corridor, and there's a perpetual. It should have a better train service on it. VIA originally came up with, they had their high-speed proposal. It didn't end up going ahead, and so they
Yeah.
kind of came back with a more modest, like, what if it's just, not crap for a bit less crap? How about that? And the government was like, yeah, sure, let's throw that into a process, and this kind of long process has kind of, with no particular mandate, has resulted in this P3 proposal for a elevated line with two proposals. One's fast, like one's high speed, one's conventional speed. There's 3 consortium bidding on it, and we're going to find out in the next few months who the government selected, and then we'll go into this kind of like co-development process. So I guess the vibe is like, okay, well, it's nice to have a better train, I guess. I guess we'll take it. But a lot of people can't help but be disappointed that we didn't go ambitious with, let's do it. Let's get the high speed built.
I believe the technical term would be the vibes are mid.
Yeah.
Is that what?
So what I'm hearing is
I'm
that
a millennial. I don't
next
know.
month will be the new season of The Bachelor, choosing which P3 is going to get the Canadian government. Let's see, what was the other one? What long-distance Amtrak route would you guys like to create? It can be restored or a completely new route. Here, you start with that one.
Wait, what was the question?
What long-distance Amtrak route would you guys create, or it can be restored or a completely new route?
Oh.
All
Oh, gosh, that's a hard one.
Can you do Toronto to Montreal?
Well, no,
And Amtrak runs it?
Well, there was the international. There was the international.
Oh, yeah.
That was Chicago to Toronto.
You know which one since we're in Canada, I'm going to do a Via route instead. I want
Hell yeah.
Via to bring back the Atlantic. That was such a
Which
cool
one's
train.
that?
So that went from Montreal to Halifax, but it
Okay.
went via the northern
Oh, man.
part of Maine.
It's like through Maine.
So
Yeah.
it's nice because it serves like St. John singular because it's New Brunswick.
yeah, New Brunswick,
It
yeah.
serves like some of the bigger population centers in New Brunswick, but it also had a cool thing where it served these tiny towns in northern Maine, and they had a car just for people in the U.S. People who were going to the U.S. who cleared customs, and they were locked in this car. And it was like a singular car. They'd get off in these Maine towns in the middle of the night. I think that would be a really cool train to bring back because I love Atlantic Canada, and it serves more population centers than what the ocean does right now, where it goes around, and it's a lot faster than the ocean.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It would have been faster. I mean, it doesn't exist now. It's very much slower. 'Cause it's
That's
not
very
real.
interesting because when I took the ocean, it was like this could be good if it was just a little faster for the sleeper
Very
option.
slow.
Yeah, it's
Was
just
it-
a little too long.
Is it 24 hours or 22
It's-
hours?
yeah.
Maybe?
And it's like, well, if you could, it's not on that
suggestions.
you fall asleep at night and then you arrive the next morning.
We'll do that.
Yeah.
Like sort of your ideal sleeper distance. So that's interesting. I didn't even know about that line.
Yeah, it was very cool.
So I guess I'll give my answer would be the original Adirondack. The original Adirondack went from Washington D.C. to Montreal, and so that would be useful for me. He goes through Philly, so that one. But also the Adirondack and the Maple Leaf should both have second trains, and they should both be sleepers.
Yeah. Bring
be-
back the Montrealer.
Which one is that?
That was just the Vermonter, but it went up to Montreal.
Oh, yes,
It
that
was,
should also
overnight
come
through
back.
Vermont. They could add a second one that goes up to Montreal overnight.
Was, we love the Delaware and Hudson, don't we, folks? Someone was like, "Oh, choose the Roz answer, the Gull."
Which one was that?
I forget that one specifically. But okay, what Via routes would you bring back or create?
See, I am definitely not the expert on this sort of stuff. Do I have I don't know, is there one that used to go to Vancouver? Or is
You can invent anything.
Invent
anything.
Where do you want to go from Vancouver that you can't right now?
The
I really
Moose
liked the
Factory.
Polar Express as a kid, the movie. It's a movie that the VFX have aged very poorly. If you
Oh, I
watch it
still
now,
like
it'll
it.
give you nightmares. But
It's charming.
oh, the elf scene? Yeah, it's so clearly obvious that they just copied and pasted the same elf.
With no moving leg.
Fucking- yeah.
Like an animatronic Disney
Oh
character.
yeah, that. Anyway, sorry. No, I'm gonna let the experts speak on this one.
So you'd bring back the Polar Express, which is like an on-demand service that then transports everyone it collects to the North Pole.
Exactly, to help them believe in Christmas again.
Okay.
I want
That's-
the ultimate Canadian train from asbestos to Moose Factory.
I think there's one that would make sense would be Calgary Edmonton. There's an issue
Someone
with
says
the,
that, yeah,
the,
right there.
Oh yeah.
the politics
Yes,
in Canada.
yeah.
That one gets my vote then.
Yeah.
Sure.
You can't
I'm
just
claiming that one.
just steal my
I'm claiming.
train,
No,
you take
no.
my train.
I'm desperate.
Yeah, in Canada there's a lot of tension around basically the West not getting good service. So Quebec has a handful, and Ontario has a handful of via routes, and because it's a federal crown corp that loses money, I feel like they're really hard done by. We should for sure have that service, and tons of people go.
All right,
between those two
there's
cities.
a question here from Miles.
Oh, yeah. Cool.
This one right here.
Oh, Mount Washington Cog. I have. You know what's funny? I
Watch it
wrote it
trade.
during COVID. Oh, you want to get okay?
You
Yeah,
take it,
yeah,
yeah.
there you go.
You know, I rode the Cog Railway during COVID, and I didn't film it for some reason. Like, it's a heritage railroad; it's not like a real
Yeah.
transit service. So, if I ever do it again, then
Was it the
maybe-
steam or the diesel engine?
Steam.
Ah,
which is very
okay,
cool.
okay.
Yeah, it's fun. I mean, it's a really fun ride. So here's my thing with heritage railroads. Sorry, foamers, but like I don't find them interesting unless they're useful for transportation.
Okay. I was gonna be like, you rode the Adirondack and you made a video about that, or
Oh, yeah, because
Yeah,
we were
'cause
using that
you-
to get to the eclipse.
Yes.
That was the main purpose of the
Yes.
trip, which I thought was really cool. So actually, speaking of heritage roads, because we were talking about like stuff in Canada, I discovered a heritage road recently that goes from Sitka, Alaska to Yukon, and you can do one-way trips with a bus connection to Whitehorse. Like, there's a train like a heritage train from Sitka to Whitehorse. That is so cool. And so if I ever do Alaska Marine Highway to Sitka, that would be the which is the longest ferry in the world. So like
oh,
the
Huh.
longest ferry trip. It's like several
Oh.
nights.
so
7 nights.
Several nights. I don't know how
Oh.
many exactly. But
Okay, gotcha.
so before we get to the other super chats, there is a question here that says no RM transit question mark.
Oh.
Get out the robot Reese.
So we brought Reese with us.
Do you want his face?
Yeah, you gotta get the face. So
Someone
the-
want to give the context as to
so
what's going on?
well,
Reese hates us now.
oh yes, he hates
Yeah.
us.
There's
that's
some
why he's
real
not here.
beef that just
Well,
happened.
actually, I don't know if you heard, but Reese said some really controversial things, and we canceled him.
Yeah,
He
you
said
can't,
he
you
said
know,
trams are
can't
bad.
be around that toxicity. Anyway, that's actually true. Oh my goodness. I mean, I can give the real story. Sorry, yeah, you
yeah,
can
go.
hold it, Miles.
Okay.
Reese is having a baby.
Yes.
I hope I can say that, Reese. I'm so sorry if you wanted that secret.
Or maybe we should do past tense now. I don't know.
Oh,
Wait, maybe
yeah.
he'll text
I
us
actually
sometime.
don't think that's impossible because he's being pretty quiet.
He
today.
is.
Oh.
Yeah. I don't think it's impossible that that's actually happened.
Hey, if Reese, you have your baby during the live stream. Good luck.
Yo.
Oh no, he just messaged me an hour ago. So.
Oh, yeah,
Never mind.
never mind.
False alarm. False alarm. And I should clarify, or Reese would clarify, he's not having the baby.
So-
His wife is.
Oh yeah.
So we did bring Reese with us.
You wanna do it?
Yeah, yeah.
Whatever you.
Where do I
Wait,
put them?
let's
So
show
we brought-
the- This is Reese.
All right, go. Let's see. There we go.
Oops.
Yeah.
And what do you have to say today, Reese?
Metro system, and I like this part too. You didn't actually record on that thing, did you?
I didn't know what part would play, but yeah, sure.
So during the event, the Canadian Civil event, we had canned responses to a lot of the things, and he has a bunch of.
brilliant.
He has like a stack of tapes, by the way. It's not just that one. So
He's a very interesting man.
I love how the collection of props is just growing.
Yeah.
I
Those
think that's a
add
good
stuff
idea,
to it.
right?
Yeah.
It's like, this
Just
is-
add stuff as we
this
go.
conversation's
Yeah.
been-
so
What
let's
else can
get.
I throw on there?
Let me see. We're getting behind in these super chats. Let's see. Is Montreal's regional rail in the plans to have expansions? Can't be worse than Miami, right, Miles? Also, Alan, will SEPTA take care of me? Flying to Philly in October. Always great hearing from you guys. Well, I guess
What Miami
so-
has right now is far better than
I was
anything in
gonna say,
Montreal.
yeah, I don't think you understand how frustrating EXO is. So it's like Metro but bad. That's a good way to describe it, right?
I mean, it's just it's
'Cause
just
you have-
so bad.
You have multiple terminals. You have
Okay.
only diesel, and you have these like slow consists that only move like a few times a day.
yeah.
It's Metro but bad.
So like Montreal Metro or which one?
Metra,
Oh, Metra. Yeah.
like Chicago
Yeah,
Metro.
yeah. So tomorrow I'm planning on getting up ludicrously early to ride the Mascouche line, which was a new build line they built in 2014, all for 8 trains a day, like pretty much peak only, and it takes absolutely forever to go anywhere on it. And I'm very excited to lambast it.
Everyone in chat is saying congrats, Reese.
Aw.
Aw, yeah.
But that'll be cool. It'll be a
Again,
neat
like
video.
Montreal's Metro is so good, and then everything else is just.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, EXO is like, it's like charmingly bad.
I've never been on it. Doesn't it use the same? It
It's
uses
like NJT.
NJT cards.
And
yeah.
then, well, there's also the CRRC stuff, and then there's also, I think
They
they,
just give
have
me
some
like all the
older
hand-me-downs
stuff,
or
too.
something.
They did
Oh.
a joint order. I
They did a
think,
joint order.
Oh,
It's a
okay.
Bombardier made them.
which is such
So-
a. You take like you could argue like best or second or third best commuter rail system in the country, along with one of the worst commuter rail systems on the
Interesting.
continent.
Yeah.
They did a joint
So
order.
truly, it doesn't matter if the vehicle is good, the system or network has to be great.
Okay, this is just an Amtrak question. So someone says, what impact will Amtrak... that flew up. What impact will Amtrak managing DC Union Station have? Will it be a dramatic change?
That's not a question.
Short answer, no. But long answer, wait, was someone responding? Oh, someone's responding to that. Short answer, no. Long answer, there's not much that you can do wrong with DC Union. The only thing that I'd say is probably like possible to fuck up is land use around or on top of the station. There's a possibility they want to build a big ass parking garage, and that's not good land use, obviously. But otherwise, some of their plans that they have are actually really cool. So I think in the most part, or for the most part, it will go well, and I don't think that there will be many problems with that. Okay.
I actually like the current Union Station. It's got like a food court in it, and people have said bad things about the food court, but I like the food court. I think it's nice.
Like the food is bad or the court is bad?
I don't really know.
Oh,
This is a great like nonsense question. Like, do you mean like this or the other part of the sentence?
Miles, I want you to read this comment above the super chat.
Miles, you know about the kilometer-long anti-explosions wall in the Mascouche? I do, yeah.
What?
Do you know about this? So they built I think we were talking about this a little bit earlier. They built the line next to like an ammunitions factory, and it was like,
Okay.
that could be kind of dangerous. And so they had to just like build a wall. Do you know more about it? We're gonna build the wall.
And keep the bombs out.
Regulations required.
Yeah. No, I didn't know about that until you mentioned it, but I do know when I rode my bike out there, it's better than going out there on a VXO. There was a bunch of like, arms manufacturers and that sort of thing. And I was like, oh, cool, this is all out here. I guess it's one of those. Anyway.
Okay, what's the super chat? We should make the Canadians answer this one. In your opinion, what are some America's top rising cities in terms of urbanism and transit?
Ooh.
So we'll give that to these two. What do you think?
You're gonna stick it into my mouth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what are America's top cities that are rising urbanism? What do you think?
I fucking hate questions like this. I fucking hate the horse race city thing. Like,
I
this is
see.
blah. The bike lanes. Well, I've created a metric and
Are you
this number
telling
of
me
kilometers.
an area or city is not doomed and others are not better in ways?
No, I mean, it's like most of what's good about it, honestly, there's more to the world than urbanism. A lot more, Like, I would say the best city is the one where people that you like live and you enjoy, your life there, where you feel happy,
A nuanced take.
I don't know.
That's crazy.
I just really don't like the kind of like compression of all that value into like this kind of secondary thing to like various kind of like competing whatevers. I'd say a lot, like most American cities that are growing in population, prove evidently that they are rising in a way. They're succeeding in attracting people there. They are rising, and they're doing something right. And it may not be a bike lane or a train, but some other thing, Anyway, it was a little bit of a rant.
Do you have an answer?
Wow.
I was gonna say I hate this question because I just don't know much about
Well, there's
what's
gotta be
going
a
on
city you
outside.
like
Yeah,
in the
that's I recently highlighted in just my last video. I'm gonna just plug me continuously.
No,
I'm
I
sorry.
would do that too. So yeah.
I'm just continually impressed at how well Austin, Texas builds housing. How like aggressively they are, and like kind of despite having many of the similar issues that a lot of other rapidly growing cities with a growing tech sector would have, like they've gone and built a ton of housing, and and you've seen an appreciable decline in rents because of it. So I just found myself really kind of inspired by that story.
And that gets at what matters, right? Housing. Like, can
Some of those
people
space-
afford to live there and feel like they're not going to lose, their house and where they are, and that many of these cities don't do a great job on things that we would call successful urbanism, but I kind of prioritize that above all else, So Houston.
When push comes to shove, that's it. Yeah.
I mean, a lot of them, it's like, well, we can fix it later.
I don't know.
It's kind of funny with Austin because all the headlines are like, real estate prices are declining and people are scared. And it's like, That's a good thing.
Yeah, renters are quite okay with that.
Oh no, I might agree with Comrade 115 here. It's Gary, Indiana.
Gary, Indiana.
I mean, if cost of living is the most important thing, then
I actually don't know if it's the cheapest. But
Really?
I mean, there's not much housing in it. It's a
is there
crater.
even a train station there? Like, there needs to be.
The South Shore Line.
Does it actually stop there?
Yeah.
Is it one of those?
Doesn't it keep rolling as it goes through?
There is a state. Well, the steel mill's there. People still like get off and work there.
Or as they would say in Pittsburgh, the steel meal.
We love U.S. Steel, don't we, boys?
Hey.
Let's see. Would it be possible for small cities to embrace and build LRT? Would it make sense in cities the size of like Savannah or Regina, or Charlotte or Toronto? Cities like Charlotte or Toronto have them, but it seems to operate them poorly. Oh, they seem to operate them poorly. Well, no, Charlotte seemed okay. What?
I mean, Charlotte, yeah, it's
Because it's
it
mostly
was
a
very
dedicated...
low frequency when I wrote it, but that I'm not sure if it's improved since. What I like about Charlotte is that they've been building a lot around the line. They've been building neighborhoods around the line, which I think is the way to do it. Like, you want to build stuff around your transit line so that more people can live close to the transit line. Like the Vancouver style of just like huge towers next to SkyTrain. I think that's great. More
Yeah,
people
it's
should
not
live
bad.
near the SkyTrain. Like, if it's a high quality transit service, then
It's
I
sort
think-
of like in tandem with the transit, you need the development around it to
Yeah, I think...
support it.
No, literally. I think the problem with Charlotte is that it's like the train is fine, but the development is the problem.
they're doing some like they're building a huge tower, like a new Amtrak station downtown. I think like they're doing like this
Okay,
3
right.
towers. Like, I don't know. I think Charlotte. I just remember the train being infrequent, but I think
That's-
it's better now.
That second part of the question, that's such race bait.
What is it?
Because it's like... Cities like Charlotte and Toronto have them, but seem to operate them poorly.
Oh, if only he was here.
Because the streetcars, he has many
He's
things
not a
to
fan
say.
of them.
Yeah.
I mean, can I ask a genuine question that I've come across over and over again?
Yes.
Is there what is the substantial difference between a tram and a bus, like in terms of like the quality frequency that they
no.
offer? Is this a
This is a
am I
Pandora's
waiting?
box question.
Uh-oh.
Oh no.
I just wanted to hear from you guys are clearly more knowledgeable about it. Oh, okay, yeah. Paige wants to
Yeah.
exit this dumpster fire of an argument. I think.
So, oh man, okay. So, there's 2 obvious reasons why you'd pick a tram over a bus.
Okay.
You can make the vehicle longer to hold more people.
Yeah.
Capacity.
And then the other thing is that a tram can have 2 cabs on either end, so it can reverse in place. It doesn't need a turning loop.
Oh, okay.
I would also add, I think that with trams, it is easier to have accessibility that doesn't hinder everyone else. And I don't mean that in like a people in wheelchairs shouldn't ride the busway, but just in like on a bus, like, you
It
know,
has to fold
even if
out
it's
this
even if it's
thing.
there are some BRTs that like
Yeah.
have level boarding platforms, but oftentimes with that the bus has to very slowly settle up to make sure that it's properly aligned.
Oh,
with it.
hello, Patrick and Jasmine in the chat. Too bad you couldn't make it here tonight. Yeah, there they are.
Aw.
Oh.
So,
But yeah, a
Makes
tram
you
can just
already-
like pull up and it's
Yeah,
level boarding.
I see. Okay,
So
okay.
I think that's another benefit.
Right. So it's all these sort of like, little benefits that add up into being a pretty substantial improvement.
Yeah, and people say and trams are like a smoother ride than buses. I mean,
most of the time.
most of the
Yeah,
time.
most
That
of
being
the
said,
time.
I will be like the first person to crap on a tram that I think sucks. So it's like,
What's a good example of a tram and what's a bad example of a tram in North America? I think the
So-
SEPTA trolleys are probably a good
oh,
example.
those are amazing.
Yeah.
They're not
Okay.
accessible though.
No. Well, they
But-
will be hopefully soon. But
Yes. I would say, or like even for a modern one, I was very impressed with Kansas City. Because those
okay.
vehicles, the problem with a lot of modern streetcars is they move very slowly.
Yeah.
Kansas Cities actually go very fast. They're quick to board. It's like a long straight line. They're actually, what I'm really impressed with Kansas City is that they're extending it further out and actually cutting back there's a bus line that currently runs on that street. They're cutting it back to just terminate at the streetcar line and you transfer to the streetcar. That's the kind of thing that I want to see. I want to see transit agencies build networks around these tram lines because like this should be like a high quality trunk that you feed stuff into, and right now they're often just downtown circulators. So like
I see. So connected to other, transit networks, modes.
make it an important thing. Like so like an example of like a really crappy one is the Atlanta streetcar. It's just
Oh,
this
yeah.
awful little loop. and it doesn't really, it's meant for tourists, but it doesn't really go anywhere that
Doesn't connect.
like
Hopefully
that a
to
bus
the-
can't take
Hopefully
you.
to the Beltline eventually.
Yeah,
That's the idea.
it's super slow.
What's your opinion of the Portland one?
So the Portland one, I think, is a really good network. What I think
Yeah.
is interesting about the Portland one is that they built this like big downtown network, and I think it actually functions as a circulator very well. Paige, what do you do?
He wants.
Very discreetly bringing a feet cushion.
Yes.
Because this is a hardwood floor, and you know, we don't ask how old Paige is, but you know, we're gonna assume. I'm kidding.
You want some cushion?
I'm
Oh,
good.
I'm
take
okay.
you up
I'm
on.
good.
Well, as long as
corner
you
of a
put it
cushion.
here, I mean, I'll take a bit.
Oh, that's nice.
So yeah, I think Portland actually has done a rare thing where they built
We're clustered together.
built a sizable enough network to be
Yeah.
useful on its own.
Oh yeah. I think from what I understand, Portland was also really good at like coordinating it with development and having just new housing kind of built along those lines.
It is kind
Alright,
of slow though.
This is a very specific question. Marta praised the Georgia Department of Transit for a Georgia Express Lane widening project, which kills the red line. And okay, well,
That
that's not
sucks.
less of a question and more of just a depressing fact.
Sad piece of news.
But I will check up on that later. Let's see who else. But I will, yeah. Unfortunately, I will have to deal with the Georgia stuff. Eventually, make something about that.
Oh, yeah.
Alan was telling me that's the only Great Society's metro he hasn't been on.
It's the only Great Society's metro. Because I've even been on the little ones.
You know, Miami.
Except for
and-
San
Oh,
Juan.
San Juan's a weird one.
San Juan is the only one.
Oh, I think
That's technically not Great Society though. That's
Okay.
a late '80s and early '90s.
we should explain what the Great Society's metro
Yeah.
is.
So okay, for those who don't know, Great Society's metro. Great Society's was a bill passed by LBJ in the late '60s, or I guess '69 or '70.
Nice.
And essentially, this was.
I'm sorry.
Like the Biden bill that passed recently, it was very similar in that it did a bunch of social programs and it also funded transit. And specifically, and there's like you can find like quotes of this from LBJ, is that he's like, I want a metro in every medium to large city in the United States. Like he says this. And so a large part of the funding went toward funding heavy rail metro, specifically heavy rail automated metro. And so the three systems that got the most of the money from it was BART, which was already in construction, the WMATA system, and the last one, which is confusing because originally the money was going to go to Seattle, and then there was a referendum, and they had some goofy thing where you had to pass the referendum by a 2/3 majority, and it got only like 56% of the vote. And so
Only 56.
Seattle lost out on a baddie, and instead the money went toward Atlanta's system, which is MARTA. And arguably not a bad thing that happened.
Okay.
It's an interesting. I think the way that I think Jeremy's mentioned is like Atlanta benefited more from MARTA than Seattle would have benefited from its metro system, because Seattle has a lot of fixed guideway
Debatable.
transit.
Yeah.
And they're now building out their light rail system.
Yes, they're now, because they have the money. Where
very hugely.
Atlanta, I don't think would ever spend the money purposely to do that. And I think that,
So in that sense, it's like it's almost nice that they got it then, because they certainly wouldn't build it now.
yeah. What does this person say? If your transit is going to be grade separated, when is it okay to use light rail instead of heavy rail? I'm thinking about Seattle when asking this. Well, you're luckily we led into that.
Yeah.
I guess, I mean, it all depends on the city size and the density and the blah, 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 blah.
I think it's kind of silly that Seattle used light rail. Like it's just
Well,
one section.
I think when
on
they
the street.
started it, Seattle was not a growing city. It was smaller,
Yeah.
and now it's like the white person magnet that like attracts everyone from around the country to go there because mountains, but and I'm gonna work for Amazon or something. So it's like the Seattle is it probably should have built a heavy rail metro. But now they're just daisy chaining light rail trains together and making a metro forcibly, which I guess works.
It also came from the fact that they had to like repurpose their bus tunnel. So for there was a period of time when they had both light rail trains and buses running in a downtown tunnel.
Really? That's why the tracks look like that. I mean, they don't even look like tracks in some places.
Yeah, it's like just a paved roadway still.
Right.
Yeah, because it was shared with buses for a little
I see.
while.
Oh, that's wild.
And now, fun fact: the only tunnel that shares buses and light rail trains is the Mount Washington Tunnel in Pittsburgh.
Yes, which I need to ride eventually. I still have not done that.
Alan.
Pittsburgh is such a cool city.
Pittsburgh's amazing.
Pittsburgh's such a cool
I
city.
love Pittsburgh.
And this person kind of asked a similar question. Georgia residents report. I was asking about LRT in Savannah because that's where I'm from. The kid in me wants a tram LRT built, but the adult in me knows it doesn't make any sense. Maybe. I think Savannah would probably be good for a BRT system because you could then fan it out in the suburbs.
Yeah,
Because like
Savannah's a really interesting city.
Because you could do LRT, but it would be a straight line, and then what do you do with it out of the core? That's the real question.
Yeah.
Because Savannah has that very like dense grid core, and then outside of that, not much.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing. So it's like, what do you do with that? And that's why maybe a BRT might be better.
Savannah has a very cool street layout. I don't know if you guys know about this, but
yeah?
it was designed for like self-contained blocks. So each block has a park in the middle, and then like it was designed to have like civic buildings and businesses around it, and then residential buildings around that. And it's just like a bunch of those like it's like modular.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of the what is it called, the Ebenezer Howard kind of Garden City model almost.
It essentially is. Well, it's a Spanish city. That's essentially the thing.
They got super blocks before super blocks.
Yeah,
essentially,
right.
yeah.
And it's really cool. It's like it's like
Listen,
it's
I've never
like
been to Savannah. I'm just saying.
I recommend going.
it's like
cool.
automatic
Cool.
traffic calming because you have to drive around the park and go really slow. And there's parks everywhere. Savannah's beautiful. It's well worth a visit.
Oh wow.
Okay, this is a question we can all answer, not location specific.
Okay.
This is more of an urbanism related question, but how common are third places, aka places outside of work and home, in your local area? What kinds are there and how accessible are they within your walking transit? So I guess a better question with this is that what are local places that we like to go to near us that are our third places in our cities?
Oh.
So, we want to go
Who wants to go
right
first?
to left?
Sure.
What's,
Paige is back.
well,
so
what's cool here in Montreal that you like going to that's the third place?
The parks, that's where we go. People here spend a lot of their summer hanging out in the parks on nice days. So, like Parc La Fontaine, right by the lake. It's always a good time. Yeah, hang out
be
for
a
a
good
while
park.
afternoon.
And like the park that we were in for the event, what was that one? Because that was really cool.
Yeah, that's Parc La
Oh,
Fontaine.
that's that.
That's why I
Okay.
chose that venue. I was like,
Oh,
this,
okay.
this is my happy place. So I'll just,
Yeah.
get the building in the happy place.
Makes sense.
Mhm.
How about?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a fan of a good library.
Okay.
I think libraries are incredibly cool because they're places where you can. I mean, I guess this is literally just describing third place, but they're places you can just kind of go and exist, and you don't necessarily have to do anything. So you can go and work and like just browse around. Like I think libraries are really cool places, and every time I go to a new city, I love to explore the Central Library to see like what kind of resources they have, because they often have some really cool stuff. Like the Pittsburgh mentioned again. Their library has it has like at least it did when I was there. It had like a synth section with like synths with headphones, and you could just like play different synths, and that was incredibly cool.
Yeah.
That's sick.
What's your favorite third place that you like going to?
Yeah, so in Vancouver, I'll start with a little bit of a rant first in
Okay,
terms of
okay.
I think the city gets a bad rap for not having a lot of very like free third places. We don't really have many plazas. Our library closes at 6 p.m. last time I checked, and like if you're meeting up with people, a lot of it is at cafes where you'll spend like $5 for an Americano, which I think is like not okay. Whatever. But I mean, kind of as to what going back to what Paige was talking about, I think Vancouver does parks really well too. They have a whole like elected body of government for the parks, which is kind of funny to me. And there's one particular park near my place called Jonathan Rogers Park. It overlooks the Vancouver skyline, which is already epic. But there's something about it, like half the park is on like this slope, and that slope is perfect for sitting on. I don't know what it is, but like there's something about like a sloping field of grass where like your butt touches it at the right spot, and then your feet can sit on the right spot, and you're looking at the Vancouver skyline. You got a book or something, and it is bliss, just blissful. So yeah,
Makes sense.
that's my
That's
my version.
We love good varied terrain, don't we, folks? I don't know. Probably I don't know. I don't have one specific one, but like I'm near Rittenhouse Park in Philly, and is an amazing people watching area, and it's very chill because there's usually a musician in the center near the fountain playing or busking, I guess is the word, and then there's usually just a bunch of people in groups that come and congregate and chill and then leave together to go somewhere in Rittenhouse. And then Rittenhouse is interesting because a lot of the four Philly big parks or squares in Center City all have diagonal routes through them. And so Philly, since it's a grid system, those are rare, the diagonal routes. So people like walking through Rittenhouse just kind of at an angle to walk through the block going somewhere. So it's oftentimes you'll just see people commuting from work or going to something using the park almost as a walkway just because it's at an angle and they can kind of use, the Pythagorean theorem type deal and get to wherever they're going faster. Plus they're walking through somewhere that's kind of neat. So Rittenhouse is definitely one of my places. I love coffee shops because we love caffeine, don't we? And I don't know, definitely that. And then libraries are great. The Philly Main Library is fantastic. Yeah, I mean, other than like maybe like some of the big train stations in Philly, those are also cool to just go and sit. And my PO box is in 30th Street. Unfortunately, the place where the PO box exists in the tiny little post office that's in 30th Street is currently being renovated, so now it's across the street, but hopefully it will return to 30th Street, so I don't have to go to the bad post office. I want the good post office. So that'll be probably my answers. So,
Alan, someone on the same topic, you should talk about that theory you were telling me about of like the buildings, the type of businesses in a neighborhood that show that it's like a thriving neighborhood.
Oh, okay.
I thought that was really interesting.
So, what was the one you said?
I said that a good neighborhood has a supermarket in walking distance, and that's something that I think Montreal does really well. It's like it has these very
seems like there's a lot of supermarkets.
And they're everywhere, and they tend to be very pedestrian oriented. Like the supermarket near
near
Paige's place is like, yeah, it's next to the metro.
Triangulating Paige's location.
Thanks a lot, Miles. But it's really nice because there's no parking lots. You just walk straight in from the street, and like. It's one of those annoying supermarkets though, where it's very Euro style, where it's like you have to walk through the turnstile, and like I hate that.
Oh, that's for crime.
It sucks. I hate it.
Yeah, the neighborhood's a little rough.
Don't do crime. That's bad in the supermarket apparently.
But anyway, so I think I want if when I live somewhere, I want to be in walking distance of a supermarket, just so I can get stuff quickly.
And then my answer. And I forget where I got this from. I was talking with someone, and it's been ingrained in my head ever since. But a good neighborhood or a developed neighborhood, meaning it's been there for a decent amount of time and it's not just recently gentrified or some shit. Okay. A good neighborhood has a hardware store because people that care about where they live or what they want to work on need tools and sometimes they need it now and they can't order something, so you have to walk over to a hardware store and you get I don't know, I need a hammer, I need an outlet, or I need some physical thing to work on the house with. And so usually a very good neighborhood will have a hardware store, and the more faded that the sign is on the hardware store, the better it is. There is an Ace Hardware near, or I don't even know if it's an Ace Hardware anymore. I think it's like a family-owned one, and the Ace Hardware store sign just happens to be there, but is the most faded, painted, almost gone type thing. And it's it's great. You walk in, it has that smell that smells like a mixture of wood and paint thinner, and it's you're in the place.
Do you guys have any types of buildings or businesses that you would want to have in your neighborhood?
This might sound romantic. I think a good old used bookstore. It's just a sign of someone's been here for a while, put some love into it. Those things do not make money, so the sign, the fact that somebody was willing to just put up with a very not lucrative business is a sign that they really care about the neighborhood for me.
There's a bookstore there's a ton of bookstores in Philly, and the best bookstores have a resident cat. And one of my favorites is, I think it's on 2nd and Market there, and on 2nd Street. There is a bookstore that you walk in and you can barely walk down the aisles because there's so many books that close together and stuff like that. And then there's a cat, and I think his name is Professor Whiskers or something like that. And so it's the place is good. And Professor Whiskers will sit the owner mostly stands at the cash register in the front, and the cat will sit on top of the cash register, and the owner has to physically pick up the cat and move it, and then like do your like book sale, and then the cat sits back down on top of the register. So this like repeating process of picking up the cat. So that's what you guys, you sort of like, you get these little like cultural bits over time as like your sort of neighborhoods age. And that's like, we were kind of talking this about earlier, some of the newer developments, mostly in the United States in the Sun Belt cities, but also here in Canada in like the further out or newer neighborhoods that are developing when they develop new things. Maybe like the One Rem neighborhood that's way out there. You don't really get the culture in those neighborhoods until it kind of gets ingrained or gets kind of baked into everyone that's lived there, I guess. I don't know a better way to put it.
Yeah.
How about Mr. Saunders?
Oh, I like the hardware store one. I think that's a really good
that's a
one.
good one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a little hardware store near here, and I remember walking back with like a piece of 2x4 one day, you know, just on my shoulder, and I was like, "This is awesome. Success has occurred." You know.
Yeah. I think there's some innate like primal itch we scratch, maybe as dudes more than anything, but like like, yes,
I bought wood, and I will nail it.
I am useful. I have purpose in my life.
It's just like, oh, this is cool. Like
Yeah,
for sure,
yeah.
the place I grew up didn't have that. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
You gotta be the one guy that puts like the concrete bags in his like cargo bike. It's like, yeah, of course. It's like,
I feel like I should show a picture of my cargo bike.
Oh, hell yeah.
Recently, but yeah, this will come up later.
well, while you're looking for that, someone asking as a tourist, but how should bike share programs integrate with transit? I'm puzzled by how expensive it is to rent a bike for a day in Philly. Okay, that's a very Philly specific one though. The Philly one is expensive, and that's because the city does not subsidize it enough. That's basically the answer. But the better thing to talk about is how to integrate bike share with transit, I think. I don't know, does one of you want to comment?
How to integrate bike shares with transit. Every transit station should have one. So actually that's a bit of an issue with the REM because the ARTM has to negotiate the Bixi program. And so it's a kind of universal for the existing metro. If there's a metro station, there is a bike rack. And there's definitely bike racks within the radius that you might bike to as part of your commute. So I think as a standard policy, it should just be rapid transit equals you will find one there. You know, so you just reliably know, even if you don't have the app on your phone, like I'll just go down to the station. There's going to be one.
Yeah, there's a point you guys made that kind of still resonates with me, which is that like a bike trip can more easily replace a bus trip, but you know, where it becomes kind of unwieldy to bike is at the distance where you would take a metro or subway. So that makes sense to me. Yeah.
I also like the idea of being able to pay for bike share using the same like transit card that you would just page up the video
having
ready.
like an
See
integrated app or a card. Yeah.
Now you have to walk up to the camera.
This isn't going to work at all. It's not a picture.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But yeah, I got a cargo bike like 2-3 months ago, and I just use it all the time to haul loads. You know, it's totally sold on them.
Yeah.
If you have a really good bike share system like Bixi in Montreal, then why would you own a bike? It needs to be a bike that makes sense, that fills the hole, right, that you're not getting. So maybe it's like a touring bike, or I think for people living in a city, a cargo bike.
That's
It
right.
makes a lot of sense.
I must carry shit.
I'm every week
Oh,
I'm
no,
using
I
it to
know.
go pick up some really big thing that I can't carry. You know?
For me, it's like cat litter. That's
Yeah.
the thing. It's like,
yeah.
got to ride down to South Philly to the pet kennel.
I have to
pick up
take the
it.
PA back for Canadian Civil, and I'm like, it is way bigger than you
Holy
should put on a
shit.
cargo bike, and I'm like, it would be kind of
But-
fun
It's possible.
to be done.
Yeah.
No.
We shall find out.
So, let's see. Someone has an interesting question. Just came back from DPR and was wondering, in your opinion, which country is more likely to electrify their rail network, U.S. or Canada, or maybe Mexico?
Sorry, what is DPR?
I actually don't know.
Okay. Oh, Puerto Rico? Maybe? I don't know.
That might be. But
Democratic People's
who is more
Republic
electric?
of China? You just forgot the C.
who is more likely to electrify? I mean, which pig is fatter to fly? Like, that's a hard one. I mean, if anything, the U.S. will start electrifying in batches, and it will happen state by state, and or unless there's a president that just absolutely like Zeus instant zaps a railroad into alignment with their views. So it would probably start in the U.S. because California would force something through, or something like I don't know. One of the freight railroads would get smart enough where they're like, we can build power lines over our right of way to fix the power problems in the U.S. But also, once we do that, we could also electrify our trains. Crazy concept.
I see.
Also, shout out to Austin Surston in the chat who said that they just completed their Nexus application.
Oh, that's
Save
funny.
money. Save money. Miles is happy, save money.
That's very funny. And then someone's paid in $2 Canadian, and they said, "Promise me you'll do the civil, I guess, Canadian civil again next year."
I
So-
really hope you do.
For $2.
Yes.
Yeah, 1 month of your life, $2.
How about we do like a live stream fundraiser for
No,
Canadian
that's a good
Civil
idea.
next year?
Well, maybe we shouldn't spoil two things too far. We're thinking about possibly doing a live stream on a moving vehicle at some point. Yeah, I've talked with a few people about this, and I think the concept might work. If you know what me and Roz have done before, you can kind of get the idea of where we're going with this. But all I'll say is that portable Starlink systems are good enough to live stream with. So
Moving vehicles, so stay tuned for Alan's driving in Ford
Oh.
F-150
Yeah.
live stream.
someone says DPR is Desert Power Railway. Okay. That's the one that's in like
Oh, the Australia one?
no, that's the one in like Dinosaur, Colorado. They have electrified they have like old E60 locomotives that are like the electric ones.
Whoa.
And it's literally just a coal conveyor belt that moves stuff from the mine to the power plant, but it's electrified. So
That's
Oh,
very
yeah.
cool.
Wow.
I
I
have
feel
not
conflicted
heard of that.
about that. Yeah.
There's also that one short line in Iowa that.
oh, I
has
love
electrified-
Iowa
Yeah.
traction with the doohickey. Oh my gosh.
Electric freight, very cool.
No, I mean Iowa traction. So basically, imagine a tiny class 3 that serves like a grain silo and like a few things in a local town. But instead of having like the big honking locomotive that like you have to fire up and all the diesel smoke shoots out of, they have this tiny trolley looking thing. And it has a trolley pole, and they just have this like the most dubious looking wires draped from some telephone poles, and this little trolley thing pulls your like 3 or 4 train cars to the individual businesses along their like I think it's like a 10-mile route or something like that, but it's the funniest operation of all time in the US easily. I love it. Let's see, we'll probably go for another 15-ish minutes and then probably wrap up everything, but
Oh, it's later than I thought. Wow.
yeah. Well, we'll do this question real quick. Urbanism question again. And I asked this in the last live stream, but there were other friends' thoughts on. Oh, but what are the other friends' thoughts on classical/traditional architecture? And do they think we should return or not? I feel like that's a page question.
I have thoughts,
Yeah.
but
So, do you have architecture? You have architecture opinions. I know you do.
Yeah. I mean, what are my thoughts on classical versus contemporary, I guess it is? Or should we return to...
Should we do more things in a classical manner, I think.
Okay, I mean, an architect's not going to... What's this?
I'm not paying you enough.
to.
Do I owe you something? But
Yeah.
thank you for $2 for Alan. Yeah.
Oh, well, that goes into Uytae drink fund.
Oh, okay, great. Thank you for that.
Yes.
One more Red Bull. So yeah, I think like architects don't like a policy like that because architects like to be allowed to develop and explore their profession and stuff. I don't think that there's many people seriously out there who think that that's a good policy to just generally have. Like, oh yeah, we should just build stuff that looks
Yeah.
like stuff that architects in the past liked, because we literally, the architects today are literally going to be making a
I
thing
really agree. Yeah.
that we will. But having said that, I think, and I did a video on this a while ago, I think there's an argument to be made that we should factor in some minor aesthetic things like cladding into what's causing NIMBYs to get upset.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
when people talk about, say, black box condos, there is this element of like, okay, the architect has this idea or the fashion is this thing, but it is causing a lot of pushback. And I think it isn't a bad idea to ask the question, could we spend the same amount of money and build something that would be more agreeable to the neighborhood, therefore letting us add another story and add a bit more housing than we otherwise would get. I get the sense that there is and I did a big survey in one of the videos and like found, at least amongst my audience, that you could get an extra floor and a half if you changed the cladding to be similar to the cladding of existing buildings in the neighborhood. So that's just the cladding. You can still express yourself a lot in the building form. So I think
that's a good answer. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a bit to it.
Yeah.
For the idiots among us, what is cladding?
Like like brick or plastic panels.
Okay.
Or
What's surrounding the outside of the
or
building?
metal
Just
or whatever.
interesting.
Just what it looks like from the outside.
Wow.
And there's a building up the road. Not that I live near here, but they mimicked kind of a factory aesthetic, and so it looks like a lot of the factories in the area, and it's all like beautiful clay brick, and it looks great, And you kind of do look at it and go, man, if all the condos looked a little bit more like this, I think we'd be a little bit more okay with them, So yeah.
That's a damn good answer.
What was it? So I live near the Fairmount neighborhood in Philly, and Philly has a weird thing where by neighborhood there's standards.
Oh.
Yeah, because it's the RCOs that technically control how the new developments are built. Which RCOs are resident commission organization or something like that, where it's a resident community organization. Excuse me. And essentially, they sort of control the aesthetics of the neighborhood and what new developments look like. They can't really control the zoning individually of the lots, but they can control, here's generally what we want it to look like. And so, like, if you follow generally what the RCOs are telling you, the buildings will usually go up faster. That is generally how it works. And so in Fairmount, they really, really, really heavily prioritize brick facades. And so most of the new buildings that are going up in the Fairmount neighborhood, you'll see have brick facades and usually blend in with the older row homes that exist there, even if the building might be taller or like different shaped or something. So that's like probably a good example, right? Yeah. Do you have opinions?
I don't know if I can follow pages. That was really good. I think.
It happens to be a video I did. So.
Oh, I see. Yeah. No, and I want to. I mean, okay. I think I've got two things to say. Is that first off, I'm generally not like a super anti-government kind of person, but I think in the realm of like aesthetics and culture, I do get very nervous.
Libertarian flag.
Guns, whatever.
Yeah.
But I think as soon as we start to get into trying to, like, I think. I don't get me wrong. I think there's like a real lovely look to old historical buildings, but as soon as we try to define it and turn it into policy, I think things go wrong. Has been my observation. Yeah. The second point I want to make is that I think oftentimes when we kind of romanticize classical architecture, there's a bit of a survivor bias that's happening, where the things that lasted until today that people bothered to take care of and save and upkeep is because they were the best of their time and they were worth keeping, and there was a lot of crap that was
or there was just a lot of them,
or right,
like Philly row homes.
I do have to say though, I look at old photos of like U.S. neighborhoods that have since been like bombed out by highway stuff. All the buildings look pretty good, I think.
Okay.
I don't know, maybe
and this is where I do like I admittedly, I'm sure someone who is much more informed about architecture could actually smartly comment on like, hey, have building practices changed in some way where we don't have much craftsmanship and whatnot? Maybe maybe they have a valid point about that. And I think, maybe I'll add one last point then is like, I think to some extent in a lot of cities, we've constrained the ability to build so much. There's so much price pressure on buildings that I don't blame developers for trying to cut corners as much as possible. We've set up a very animus, what is that the word? Animosity, abrasive, relationship between builders and regulators who are, both thinking that the other's trying to, cheat them out of something. And I think, in that environment, you're really incentivizing everyone to just try to, at least from the developer side of things, I think to try to, do as little as possible to just get their project approved. I really think that when there's abundance of stuff, when there's just so much housing that like a lot of it's cheap, that's when it starts to become very advantageous to build something that does stand out, that does kind of, put itself apart from the others. So
because right now in Canada, you would buy a cardboard box like with house written on it.
Exactly. Exactly, right.
An interesting case is, you ever see the buildings in Tehran? Iran.
Oh, they have some really cool ones.
That
but
I think, to my
that
understanding,
city is very chaotic when it comes to all urbanism things.
yeah, I mean, I
It's
don't
a
know much. I
very-
just see the pictures of the beautiful buildings. I'm like, oh, they're building a lot
I
of
would
cool
if,
stuff.
if it ever became easier
There's
to
a Twitter account called Gimby Tehran that has. You
Oh,
should check it
yeah.
out.
What?
if it ever
Okay.
became easier to visit, I'd love to visit for the metro there.
Oh.
Because they have a really extensive metro system, and no Westerner knows much about it. That's the thing. Is like I would love to actually go there, but yeah, we'll see.
Ellen shows up in the news.
Yeah. Okay. Well, there's a quick question about the Northeast Corridor. How realistic is that the entire Northeast Corridor could be converted to 25 kilovolt, 60 hertz standards? I don't think it needs to. Mainly because nowadays dual mode electric locomotives have gotten so good at switching between frequencies that it's really not an issue.
I thought the different frequencies were a big problem. I learned that in a video I watched.
So true. So true. It's not like since the 70s we've had the AM7 and that's been able to do it fine, but who knows that?
Coming soon.
Okay, guys. So these are some interesting numbers you're saying.
Yeah. I like the libertarian flag thing. It's like he has a "Don't Tread on Me" sticker on his cargo bike.
You know it.
And someone says, "Real talk, what transit agency has the best merch?" Oh, there's Reese.
Oh.
Hi,
Oh my
Reese.
God.
Reese in chat.
Reese.
Reese, you're here too. You know that. You gotta hold up the.
Oh yeah. Can we?
Reese, we have you here also.
Land down.
Yeah, he's had his book.
Yeah,
Should
he's
put a blanket
resting.
on her?
Resting position. Yeah. Yeah, we forgot to add more props throughout the night.
Oh,
This is,
yeah.
this is from a
Can throw my
futon
Red
video,
Bull.
so we can give him a beard.
Aw.
There he goes.
I don't know. I'll get that out of here.
Someone, yeah, the
Best
quick
merch.
question.
Yeah, it's an
Which
interesting
best
question.
merch? I'm
Well,
not familiar with all that merch.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
I feel like Bart does pretty
Bart's
well.
pretty
not to lie.
good.
Yeah.
Wamata's pretty good.
What do they got? T-shirts?
Oh, Bart has like anime characters.
Yeah, they've done
Yeah.
some pretty
Oh, that's
wild
cool.
stuff.
That's cool.
I think that one of the best merch shops is
Septa.
it's okay. I was gonna say Ward Maps in Boston.
Oh, no, that's
which is
it.
really good. It's the
I-
official tee. The tee merch is kind of whatever, but they have a lot of really cool.
It's
Ward
everything
maps.
else. They
And,
have a lot
like,
of history stuff.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it's a lot of it's cheap. Like you can get these old schedules for like $1 each, and it's like I'll pay $1 for an old
What was
SEPTA
the
schedule.
first transit system to realize that they could capitalize on people wanting to purchase?
Probably
merch?
MTA.
Oh.
Yeah, their gift stores is expensive to get
Oh,
official
yeah.
merch. It's tough.
I want to say, well, I don't know if it's quite related to this, but the London Underground. I
Oh,
know
it
they
might
are.
be them actually.
They have a
yeah.
ton. I think they actually. All I remember is like you can't even like put a map of their system on your video without like lawyers getting nervous because they're very very protective about their IP.
Really?
Yeah, or at least like they just make a lot of money printing that on bags, on books, like all that kind of stuff. So like other transit agencies, very chill. It's like just credit us, whatever. But like with London, it's like there's a whole licensing process.
Wow.
That's what I noticed.
Any transit agency that sells model trains of their trains, generally very good.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
What they want.
Chicago technically doesn't have an official one, but they have that like transit store that's on like the
yeah.
Blue Line.
That one's. I think I've been outside of it.
That
It was
one's-
closed for some reason.
That one's
but,
pretty
like,
good.
I've heard it's great.
My favorite is they had shot glasses of every line. So it's like,
Doesn't SEPTA do shot glasses now?
I think so.
Yeah, yeah.
My favorite is SEPTA.
Doesn't make sense.
SEPTA's really upped
You're
its
not
merch
driving.
game
Right,
recently.
Oh,
that's
it
true.
has.
That's true. Yeah.
My favorite is there is a coffee mug. There's like a giant coffee mug, and it says on it, it's obviously for someone that's worked at SEPTA, and it says, "Goodbye tension, hello pension." I'm like, I have no reason to get that, but it's hilarious.
That's the best.
That's so good. Okay, actual question. Any opinions on service frequency and OpEx is cut to politically justify CapEx spending on rail? This is a very specific question. I don't know what system you're referring to that this would be. talking
You're
about.
reducing operations funding
For
to
capital funding.
increase capital funding.
Yeah.
That sounds like a bad
Which-
idea.
I feel like that's like a theoretical thing. Like I see often like when a city builds like a new streetcar, it's like, well, you could spend that money to build this many frequent bus routes, like operate this many frequent bus
I think
routes.
that doesn't happen often because usually CapEx funding comes from different places than OpEx funding. Is because your CapEx funding usually comes from state or federal governments, and it's just like a grant. And even though you do have like a capital funding each year of like that's like stays the same, most of the capital projects are sort of funded over time with grants, or at least that's how a lot of U.S. services work. So, but operations funding is usually the opposite happens. Usually CapEx gets cut for operation funding for just to keep the lights on. At least that's what happened to a lot of Northeast places when something bad happens. NJT did a lot of that for a while. But,
Shout out.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's like it's interesting from like a theoretical perspective to like think about it. Of like, oh, well, if they could have spent
Yeah.
this money on the streetcar on this much bus service instead, and like I think
Oh,
that's. I think it's definitely you have to think about the value of the rail line and what that brings. For like
Yeah.
a downtown streetcar, probably not much, but if like a metro line might be a worthwhile investment because it's really high quality service that people will
Right.
be more
Will
likely to
use,
use than
Yeah.
a frequent bus.
Speaking
possibly.
speaking of bad operations, we'll probably go for about 5 more minutes because Miles needs to wake up really early
that's
tomorrow.
Catch
so
that Greyhound.
Well,
Sounds
no,
good.
no,
right. You got
no,
the
he's
other-
doing
yeah.
the goofy
That
EXO.
Yeah.
unique thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Oh yeah.
What's your favorite dessert?
Okay. This is important. Does anyone have a one immediately on their mind?
I do.
Okay, you go first.
Here's one.
Which
The
is
box of tomatoes.
I just love that.
Miles.
That's great.
His favorite dessert is tomatoes.
Yeah.
Is
You know.
chat? Is that strange? Is it an
This
interesting?
makes it feel like such a targeted question.
And I'm just gonna say it. This guy also doesn't like potatoes.
Oh my gosh. Yeah,
What?
this is
He
true.
doesn't- yeah, he doesn't
You're a
like
white guy that doesn't like potatoes.
and lives in Boston.
Oh my God.
Lives in Boston.
Sorry, puts you on full blood. I was gonna say tiramisu. Is that a fun one?
So, okay. Well, I'll have to get coast to coast tram line.
Wow.
Let me
yeah.
let me know when you finish that. I'll write it.
Get on.
I yeah, I know. For me, dessert wise, I have celiac, so I'm gluten free, and so baked items are rare, and so
Also tomatoes.
actually no, if I eat too much tomatoes, it's too much acidity, but.
Oh,
And the no colon kind of bad idea, but but so baked goods are usually what I go for, and
okay.
so any baked goods, especially rare stuff that's like hard to make and gluten free, like donuts, I will fall for that shit. But like of course, like I don't know, I'll go for a good chocolate chip cookie if it's cooked right. Just like that's the thing is baked goods are rare. So those are technically my favorite, but it's like it's not specifically a specific baked goods, but just generally baked
Right.
goods.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, Paige, here's another one I discovered I liked recently. Snickerdoodles. I like. It's like a cinnamon cookie.
Oh. Well, it's kind of similar to the nun's farts that you had today.
Nun's farts?
Oh yeah, yeah, that was okay.
Pétassar. It's a Quebecois,
Yeah,
Quebecois kind of cinnamon,
specialty.
maple, more maple.
Oh, okay.
That's a good thing.
That's a great name.
Someone very general question: how do you fix Ontario?
Oh.
How do you fix Ontario? That is a very general question.
Do you do the
somewhat like very maybe extremely?
Too bad you
I
guys
mean-
don't have like the GIF of like Bugs Bunny cutting it off of the like the continent. And it's, like,
I think for Paige, if everyone Paige likes just moves there, then it'll be fixed.
Yeah, no, I mean Ontario. Yeah, I guess it probably means in a transit sense. I mean,
Probably. It's-
Sure.
yeah.
Ontario's got a lot of lessons for Quebec. Honestly, when it comes to the GO train system and how that works, I wouldn't be surprised if at some point in our lifetime there's a GO train that goes between Ottawa and Toronto. You know, they're basically just building the provincial what Via should be. You know,
Yeah.
and Yeah, I think there's a certain arrogance in Quebec sometimes around Quebec being good at things or not wanting to be Ontario that just causes Quebec to waste time not doing a good thing.
What would it be? It would be the goat train. 'Cause it would be the
Goat train.
Yeah.
Go Ottawa.
Yeah. Well, no.
There's your branding right there.
GOQ.
Oh, the Goat.
Yeah, the Goat.
All right.
Oh.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
Kind of like goat train.
So Go stands for Government of Ontario, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, it's just like already baked in it. You can say, why doesn't Ottawa have the Government of Ontario train? And it's just Toronto. It's not
could-
it's not
It's
supposed to
already
just
built
be a
in. Well,
Toronto
what
system.
would
We
it
really
be?
have like set up the infrastructure to like basically just make the entire.
No, now
province
you have to
Oh.
name it like an old timey railroad. It would be the GO and Q.
Oh, you want the connection?
Yeah.
Take us right up to the border. Maybe EXO can limp up to the border and complete the service.
They did have their fake London train for a little while. It was kind of
Oh yeah.
weird.
Oh.
Did you ride that?
Crap. I did ride
Of
that.
course,
yeah.
Miles
absolutely.
wrote that.
Yeah.
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 But
And now
yeah.
it's gone.
I guess we'll be finishing up, but yes, I will talk about Wamata and Randy in some future video. He's worth talking about. Maybe I'll actually talk to him in person someday. That would be cool.
He almost certainly watches your stuff, right?
Probably. Well, honestly, I feel like he's one of those people that he's so busy working on Wamata
That's true.
that he might not. But he has
Probably follows you
comments-
on Twitter.
Yeah, no, he doesn't.
Oh, he doesn't. Okay.
I think legally he probably
Probably
cannot
sees your
follow
stuff on
us.
Twitter.
Yeah. He probably watches he's commented on or replied to you before.
No, he hasn't.
Oh, okay.
But I did meet him in a video on the Silverline opening. We
Randy
took a
Clark
picture
is
with him.
Canadian. I didn't know that.
Oh.
This is the guy that's the head of WMATA, DC's Metro. So he's really good.
He's like a rock star.
He's really
He's
good.
just like
Yeah.
One thing, my favorite Randy Clark thing is he had a skiing accident and I think broke his leg or something. That's not the
So
fun
bad.
part.
That's your favorite thing.
Yeah.
I really hate him. So
But so he was on crutches for a while, and he actually used the paratransit to get around. Like,
Yeah.
how often do you have a GM using the paratransit service?
Yeah.
That is really cool.
That's for like how the hardware store being the sign of a successful
Yeah.
neighborhood, successful system. The boss rides it.
Yes.
Mhm.
Well, that was like I was talking about earlier. We were talking about David L. Gunn, who
yeah.
was the head of a lot of agencies, but the main ones that like of to note are the TTC and the MTA, and then eventually Amtrak. And he was very adamant on doing stuff like that, where it's like he forced the board members to ride stuff all the time.
That's great.
And specifically,
yeah.
and he forced people to go to the maintenance facilities and be like, look at how they're doing things and see why we can use this knowledge elsewhere. And so that's why, at least, I forget when he was at the TTC, but I think it was like after Amtrak possibly, or in the 90s. But either way, each agency he touched basically got significant better or did something really interesting or goofy during that time that worked out in a really cool way.
Okay.
Like I told you, like cooking the books with the Acellas,
Oh, wow.
which is very funny. But yeah, so we have many good questions, and I thank you guys for all commenting and showing up tonight with putting up with us ranting and answering your questions. But I know it's sad. This whole weekend is ending with the Canadian Civil event. We met a bunch of good people, including the Urbanity duo and Shifter or Tom.
Babin,
Yeah.
Yeah. And then a few other people, of course, all your friends that helped out with this thing.
Totally.
So yeah, it was a very cool weekend. I need to get back up here sometime.
Thanks for coming, guys. It was really nice hosting you. Yeah.
But I need to get here before the next one happens. I'll have to visit Montreal in some other
do your own
capacity.
separate tour.
I'll like go to Vancouver at some point.
Yeah,
at
that
some
too.
point.
Yeah, and I got to
Yeah.
get out to Philly.
Yeah, you do.
Ah.
Yes. It's very well, and it's easy. Once you're in Philly, then we have this wonderful service called Amtrak, and then you can go between
Okay.
up
Boston?
to Boston.
Yeah.
New York.
And
all
there's a fast Acela that goes between Philly and Boston in 5 hours. So it's like
Wow.
it's good enough.
Ooh,
Yeah.
okay.
So
All right.
but yeah, so
Stay tuned.
yeah, so hopefully you'll see us all together in the future doing something of some sort, either in a video or doing something like this again. But we want to thank you all for coming. I guess, Paige, you want to go over and get ready to stop the thing?
That's my final task.
Yeah. But yeah, we will see y'all around sometime soon. And hopefully, I guess sometime next time, either on here or on one of these guys' channels. Go check out their stuff and all their stuff below. And yeah, see you around.
Bye-bye.
Bye.